Well, next up on ThundersportGB, it's the Morello Services GP1. The big boys are out to play a class featuring effectively power bikes as well as super stock 1000 machines. And on pole position, it's the 2010 GP1 champion Phil Crow alongside 2009 GP1 champion Peter Baker. New set of levers there for Pete, sponsored by Morello Services. Third on the grid for South African Mike Dickinson, and then it's Ross Connolly in fourth, the leading super stock runner on the grid. He lines up ahead of Ed Peed, who's on row 2, 117 on the Kawasaki. But a number of top class riders in this class to look out for. The green flag waves at the back, and we are ready to go. We'll wait for the lights to go on and then off. Here we go then, and Phil Crow struggling to keep the front end of that BMW down, and swerves across the middle, and that's given an opportunity to Connolly that leads this one from Dickinson into turn 1. And riders are absolutely all over the place. Good stuff, Major Clark there as well in the middle of the pack, and I think Alex Heaton was somewhere in the middle of that as well. Around the outside into Cascades goes Phil Crow, the pole man, and he'll try and use the power of that BMW to get past Ross Connolly on his super stock machine also. There is Ross Connolly, a rider that's raced a couple of times in GP1 over the last few years at ThundersportGB, but I wouldn't say a regular. He's certainly a classy rider, and he's got Phil Crow behind him. Phil, who is currently third in the championship, but just 3 points behind joint leaders Dan Hegarty and John Ingram. The good news for Phil Crow fans is, however, that neither Daniel Hegarty or John Ingram have made it here to Oulton Park, so there are some points up for grabs. Oh, and Peter Baker there, you could just see, went to tuck into his ease and felt the front end wobble, knocked it up almost, could have easily fallen, but sat the bike up across the grass and has lost quite a few places there. So Pete Baker with a bit of work to do. He's dropped back to 5th place. Back at the front, towards the end of lap 1, it is Connolly that leads from Phil Crow. There is number 28, Ross Connolly, rider from Blackpool on the SMP Racing BMW, up ahead of the HMT Racing BMW of Phil Crow, who's up the inside into Old Hall Corner. As easy as that, like a hot knife through butter. Phil Crow retakes the lead, heads around Denton's, down into Cascades. Slightly new colour scheme for Phil this weekend, the sky blue and the white. He's got some nice new leathers, I see, as well. Third place there, former South African Superbike champion Mike Dickinson. And the endurance rider also. He's used to these circuits. In fact, looks like he might have just moved up into 2nd place overall, ahead of Ross Connolly. Both Phil and Mike Dickinson are running GP1 machines, so they will have more power available to them, whereas Ross Connolly is running the BMW as a super stock machine. And in 4th place there, Peter Baker, despite that error around about here on that last lap, has caught back up to the leaders already. This time he makes it stick through Hizzy chicane. Behind these guys, the likes of Ed Peed, Ben Scranage, Alex Heaton, Night Road Racing rider on the Ducati is out there, and ahead of Adam Boyle, John Blundell, Damien Byrne. Phil Crow is well away with this one now. He's broken away from Mike Dickinson and co. Just getting settled into a rhythm. Phil doesn't mind leading races from the front. He doesn't need to get himself involved in any battles. It'll be quite easy for him just to pull out a huge gap here as he puts in a 1:42.5 that time around. That record is a 1:41.4, held by Peter Baker, number 4 there. You see the blue and white Suzuki. And the Super Stock 1000s got that record at 48.7, but that was in the wet. So that has already been demolished here. In fact, I think Ed Peed has got that at the moment at 43.8. As you see, Phil Crow heading into Shell Oil's hairpin. Peter Baker is the quickest man out on the circuit, other than Phil Crow that last time around, really closing in on Mike Dickinson. He's already dealt with Ross Connolly, who leads the super stock race ahead of Ben Scranage. But Pete Baker is definitely the man on the move here. And as Dickinson, number 19, in second place, heads into Hizzy chicane, I don't think it's going to be much more than a lap before he gets a visit from Pete Baker. Further back then, there's number 41 and number 23. 41 being Colin Thompson, 23 Justin Stevenson. And trying to get themselves up into the points at the moment as Jason Bayard is as well, but points place is being taken up by Clark, Farragut and Stevenson. There goes 71, Phil Crow into the Lodge corner, sorry, Old Lodge corner, making new names up for turns now as they get back onto the start-finish straight, and this lead is looking like he's just going to run away with it, isn't he? As Pete Baker moves up into second place, then into Old Hall corner. Baker goes up the inside of Mike Dickinson, and Dickinson has to look over his shoulder. Baker that time around with a faster lap than Phil Crow, and if he's able to reel him in, we could have a race on our hands in the latter stages. Both Phil Crow and Peter Baker about a 10th difference in their lap times that time around. And Phil has been known to just ease off a little bit too much in the past when leading, and has come unstuck in the past, but points make prizes, and Phil knows that, and so does Pete Baker. Baker a little bit further back in the points, but he's only 22 points away from the championship lead, so a double win here put him right back in the hunt, especially when you consider that Dan Hegarty and John Ingram are absent. Down into Hizzies they go. They just run over that cement dust patch where there's been some oil or something like that fallen on circuit earlier, so it's not smoke, don't get too worried. Baker that is closing in on Phil Crow by a 10th in nearly every sector, so it'll be interesting to see the lap times on this next lap as Phil Crow comes out of Druids and up towards Lodge. Puts a lap on James Boswell on his Kawasaki in 23rd place. So let's just take a look at these lap times as Pete Baker does them as well. Across the line goes Phil Crow, a 1:42.4, a 1:41.8 from Peter Baker. That's only 4/10 of his own lap record, and it's quicker than anyone else has gone by a good half a second so far in this race. So Peter Baker, number 4, has got the bit between his teeth and is closing in. There's Alex Heaton going through, and number 3, that's Adrian Clark, just in 13th place. Phil Crow, number 71, he has a look down towards Island Bend to see if there's anyone coming, but he won't be able to see that Peter Baker is reading him in at about 2-3 tenths per sector around here, and Pete Baker will be able to smell him now. They head down into Hizzy chicane once more. The championship in 2010, almost took it away from Pete Baker, who was the defending champion at that time. Some good battles going on further down between Chris Barnes there, Alex Heaton. There's a rider there that's about to pull in, number 32, that's Alan Singh. Angelo De Rosa's already out of this race, as is Charlie Flett. Crow comes around to Lodge and up over Deersleep, and that gap has definitely come down. Last lap flag out now. Peter Baker, well, he's closing in, but is it going to be a bit too late? Phil Crow definitely will have seen on him. Well, he just had a big look over his shoulder and he's thought, oh no, it's him again. As they come down into Cascades, it's the last lap, and maybe Phil Crow will have to wake up a bit here because Peter Baker's got all the momentum, and another late 41 for Baker means that he was 3 or 4 tenths quicker than Crow again on that last lap. It's about where he can do it, and he thought about possibly making a last-minute move up the inside into Shell Oils, but no such luck this time. He's realistically got 2 more chances to do it. If he can get some good drive out of Britons here, then there's a chance he could go up the inside into Hizzy's chicane, but he's not close enough. It's not going to happen there, so Lodge is his only hope. But he's got to make these next few corners count. Phil Crowe, late on the brakes, weaving the back end as it skims on top of the tarmac, and into Hizzy's they go. Pete Baker is running out of time if he wants to win this race. Phil Crowe will become the new championship leader as further back you see there. Ben Scranage trying to get himself up into the top 6, ahead of Alex Eaton and Chris Barnes and Ed Peed. Ross Connolly is alone out on circuit, 4th overall, but is going to win the Superstock class as it is, and it doesn't look as though it's going to happen this time for Peter Baker. It's a good effort, but perhaps if he hadn't have made that mistake earlier, or maybe I'm wrong, they're going to be almost side by side across the line. It will be Phil Crowe that just takes the win. Peter Baker is quite upset with himself. One more lap, he'll be saying to himself. One more lap and that could have been mine, and well, who would doubt him? Phil Crowe somewhat cheekily sticks his thumb up as if to say, all right, mate. But that was close, really close, and probably a little bit too close for Phil Crowe's liking, but nevertheless, the 2010 champion wins the race here at Oulton Park and is the new series leader ahead of Baker Dickinson. Ross Connolly wins Superstock in 4th, and Ed Peed was 5th ahead of Scranage, and there are the Superstockers, Connolly, Peed and Scranage. With the GP1 overall, Crowe ahead of Baker and Dickinson.
Morello Services Superstock 1000. Ross, that was a good win for you.
Yeah, not bad. It's a bit moist, as you can see, but yeah, really enjoyed the race. Pushing to catch these boys, but can't do it without slicks, I don't think. Maybe in the second race.
Well, you did really well out there, and who'd you like to thank?
I'd like to thank Carlton Autos and PB Motorsport.
Excellent, very well done.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to these two protagonists, or reprobates, I don't know what to call you really, but anyway, second place man in the Thundersport GP1 overall, sponsored by Morello Services, and indeed your own very own sponsor, Pete. What happened to you in those last 3 laps?
Well, actually, the problem started at the beginning. There's a bit of argy-bargy, you know, you've got a full grid of bikes, and there's a bit of bashing about. I got sort of knocked about a bit, to be honest, and I don't know where I was, maybe 8th or 10th, and then spent the entire race obviously trying to make up ground. I could still see I was homing in on Phil with a couple of laps to go, and I thought I might just be able to catch him napping, but he did do just enough.
That was fantastic, and 1:41.8, which I think is probably the lap record now. Is it? I don't know, maybe not.
I think I'm just under, yeah. I believe my lap record still stands from possibly even a couple of years ago, but it was something like 41.7, so there's not much in it.
Okay, superb. Who do you like to thank, mate?
Well, obviously Steve at Morello Services for sponsoring me for 16 years, I think, putting up with me, and Tony Stannard Motors, Red Cat Hotel. Oh, there's loads. Thank you ever so much to everybody.
Thanks very much, Pete. Phil Crowe, well, I think it's probably a good job you didn't have rear view mirrors.
Yeah, well, going on the race, we've got a gap on a C.4 on my board, and I've relaxed a bit, and next thing I come around next lap on a C.1. I thought, bloody hell, what's going on here? So I look over my shoulder and see number 2 in the background, or you're number 4 now, I can't remember what number 4, and I thought I better get back on the gas. But it just shows you, with a class of riders here, that you can't have a rest. Even if you've got 0.3, 0.4 on your board, you've got to keep going. The second you have a break, they're back on you. The class of riders is so high, you've got to work at it for the full race.
Well, you both had all spectators on the edge of their seat, that's for sure. Who'd you like to thank, mate?
New for this, for maybe this year and this meeting, we've got a company called Object and Modernisation on. So if you check them out on the computer front, they're all into electronics specialists, like in-flight computers and stuff like that. Merlin Leathers for my new leathers, they're supplying me my leathers for this year, and Mark from Old Beach Motorcycle Tyres.
Excellent, great win, well done.
Thank you.
It all started back in 1976. Erlene's, the original gold. We've always stayed ahead of the competition by keeping our clients ahead of the competition. Whether you're a professional racer or simply looking for the perfect driving experience, Oulton shock absorbers offer superior performance, safety, and comfort. We are the cutting edge of racing technology. And with over 30 years of experience and a never-ending flow of innovations, we intend to keep pole position. Our dedicated staff works side by side with the greatest racing teams in the world to deliver suspension without suspense. Simply put, Oulton's shocks are state-of-the-art for motorcycles, cars, four wheels, and snowmobiles. The number of fans and customers are growing, and the demand for excellent service is increasing. To be in the forefront of advanced suspension takes passion. A passion for perfection in every detail, in every part. With more than 200 World Championship titles in racing, we boast with the very latest technological advancements in both conventional and electronic suspension systems. Our world-leading product lines, TTX and CES, are the result of this devotion to detail and innovation. All products undergo numerous tests to ensure optimal function and quality. To us, striving for excellence is common sense. The future of high-performance suspension is here. Join us.
It's a warm welcome to Oulton Park in Cheshire for round 4 of the ThundersportGB Championships 2012. Coming up in today's show here on Motors TV, we'll be bringing you the Morello Services GP1, the RST Clothing Golden Era Superbikes, action from the RLR Motorsport 600 Sportsman Elite, and the Dudson Motorsport Super Twins and Formula 400. First out on circuit here for Thundersport is the Morello Services GP1, pole position number 71. Former champion, of course, in this class, an open power bike class, if you like, with the inclusion of Super Stock Thousands and Super Twins. Phil Crow, pole position number 71. Alongside him, another former champion, Peter Baker, number 4 on the blue Suzuki. And then we have number 19, the South African rider Mike Dickinson on the BMW there. And then 4th position as we move across on the front row. Number 28, Ross Connolly, another rider on the BMW. Coming into this round, it was Daniel Hegarty that was joint leader of the championship along with John Ingram. John Ingram not here this weekend. Phil Crow was just 3 points behind. Ian Mackman a further couple of points behind that. But it's all to play for in the championship. The green flag's gone and the lights go out, and it looks like it's a good start from Mike Dickinson, number 19, but it's Connolly that gets the whole shot into turn 1 here at Oulton Park. Everyone safely through, are they all? One of the riders just going off onto the rumble strips. Was that Chris Barnes, possibly? But as they make their way down and into Cascades, it's Mike Dickinson that has the lead now, and that's Peter Baker in second, the blue and white Suzuki number 4. So it's Dickinson that leads from Peter Baker. The light blue and white bike there in third, just making the move on Peter Baker, possibly into Shallow Oil's hairpin, is Phil Crow, the 2010 champion, 2009 champion, just up ahead of him. Mike Dickinson there, the leader, 8th in the championship, not had a win so far this year, but has been on the podium. And over towards Hizzy's they come. Hizzy chicane, the newest part of the circuit here. Through they go, and it's still Dickinson from Baker, Crow, and Ross Connolly. They're now going to chuck the bike over to the right-hand side and up over Clay Hill and into a fantastic part of the circuit, so quick as they make their way around the fast right-hander at Druids. The front end will go light as they come over the hill and head towards Lodge Corner. A great overtaking opportunity. Connolly's in 4th place there, the man that got the whole shot. Then up into Deers Leap and over the start-finish line to complete lap 1. It is Dickinson, number 19, with that orange and black BMW from Peter Baker, number 4, 71, Phil Crow in 3rd. Pete Baker looking a lot more comfortable this year than he was last year. 2009, of course, he won this championship, the GP1 title. Following year, Phil Crow pinched it off him. And last year, Baker was in it there or thereabouts. He was up into the top running and he had a chance of clinching it with a couple of rounds to go, but just faded towards the end. This year, we understand that the Morello Services sponsored rider's fitter than ever, and 52 years young. There he is in 2nd place, but going round the outside into Shell Oil's hairpin there in 3rd is Phil Crow. It's a banked hairpin that at Shell Oil's. You'd be surprised how much grip you've got going into there. Rare that you would ever see anyone losing the front end mid-corner through Shell Oils as they go through. Britain's over the hilltop and flat out. Once upon a time, of course, this would be flat out all the way up until you get to Knickerbrook, but now slowed down through Hizzy chicane and flicking the bike right. You have to be careful of the high side there before you head over into Clay Hill. A bit further back there, you can see that was Adam Boyle just going around the outside. Great move there into Hizzy chicane. But it's Pete Baker now that's got the lead. So number 4, Peter Baker up into the lead, and Phil Crow fancies a move up into 2nd place. So Mike Dickinson on this lap has lost down on a couple of places. He's gone from 1st to 3rd, and wheeling over Deers Leap comes Peter Baker, number 4. He leads this race, and just behind him, his rival, I suppose you could say, Phil Crow. These two have been fighting away for the past 2 or 3 seasons in ThundersportGB GP1 Championship. A bit further back, we've got the likes of Ben Scranage, Chris Barnes, Ed Peed running very well. Ross Connolly is the leading Superstock runner, number 28. We saw him starting 4th. He's just dropped away from the back of this pack. But at the moment, it's Baker from Crow and Dickinson, the top 3. Around Shell Oils and on the exit, easy to lose the rear end around there. Not really an overtaking opportunity into Britain's chicane. A tight left-right scramble before whacking on the power, and just you'll feel the bike go completely light over the hilltop. And then another good overtaking opportunity here into Hizzies, and Phil Crow fancied a look up the inside, but Phil Crow is not quite as late on the brakes as Pete Baker. You just saw a little bit of cement dust down there. That's from oil from a previous race. And just on the entry to Hizzy chicane, you can see the lack of an adhesion flag being shown there. It's not quite on the racing line though, so it shouldn't pose too much of a problem to the rest of the field. That's number 76 there, Jason Bayard. He's running just inside the points at the moment. Back to the front though, number 4, Morello Services rider Peter Baker, leading from Phil Crow, number 71, who's been sponsored by Whole Beach Tyres, Moto 46 since day 1 really in ThundersportGB. And just in the background there, Mike Dickinson, number 19, sponsored by AL Joinery and Michelin. Currently living in Doncaster, but originally from South Africa, a former South African champion. There's Bongo, John Blondell, number 177. Just going through there. John's enjoying a good season in the Superstock class. Currently 9th overall on circuit. He's up into the top 5 of the Superstock class. The top 3 Superstocks as we speak. Ross Connolly leads from Ben Scranage, and Chris Barnes has got himself back on terms on BMW. But this is the outright race at the front. It's still Baker. He's unable to shake off Phil Crow in 2nd as they make their way through Britain's once more. In 3rd place there, Mike Dickinson. 10th by 10th each lap. He's just falling away from these two, possibly hoping for a mistake over the hilltop. And Phil Crow, will he have a look up the inside? And it looks like he's got it this time as they go in, and he does. Can he get it stopped? Just about. He flicks it left rather late, and he's just got to try and regroup, but he makes it count, and Phil Crow leads this race. There was number 3 just going through, number 7, Adrian Clark 7, Adam Robinson on a bike that used to belong to Ian Macklin. Donald McFadden going through there as well, number 55 on another BMW, just outside the top 10. but now they've completely dropped. Where's Mike Dickinson gone? He's completely fallen away out of the background. Maybe we've lost Mike, but there is Peter Baker, who's regained the lead now ahead of Phil Crowe. So all that hard work put in by Phil Crowe is not coming to anything at the moment, and that lap around for Peter Baker, a 142.4 compared to 142.6 of Phil Crowe. So a good lap time that. Last lap flag out now. Has Phil Crowe got anything up his sleeve? Of course, Phil, if he remains where he is here, he would take over the lead of the championship. But Peter Baker's 25 points would put him well back in the hunt. Around Shell Oils they go, and Phil Crowe, if he can get himself just close to the back of Pete Baker through Britain chicane here, there's no doubt that he'd have a little sneaky look perhaps up the inside again into Izzy chicane like on the last lap. Over the hilltop they go, and he'll get tucked in the slipstream. He pulls out, and they're going to be side by side. Not this time. Pete Baker so late on the brakes, and a defensive line from Pete to try and prevent Phil Crowe from going through. And Crowe, well, you can't go around the outside on the exit of Izzy chicane. That's where Nicker Brook was. Further back, that is Adrian Clark, number 3, just ahead of Robinson and Donovan McFadden again. Robinson just in 10th position at the moment. But it's back to the leaders that we want to see as they'll be making their way around Druids and into Lodge. Here they are, and it's looking good for Pete Baker here, number 4. Pete Baker looks like he is back on form and well in this championship. Phil Crowe takes the wider entry. That will give him the drive out of the final corner. It's going to be a run to the line. They make their way over Deer Sleep, but I think this one's got Pete Baker's name on it. Across the line they go, and it is Peter Baker. Oh, just under a 10th of a second. He won the race by a great race here at Oulton Park in superb conditions. And it's a win for the 2009 champion Peter Baker. He wins it from Phil Crowe. Ross Connolly wins the Superstock class and finishes 3rd overall ahead of Mike Dickinson. Ben Scranage 5th and Chris Barnes in 6th. And there's a very happy winner in the middle there, relieved. Peter Baker. In the Superstock class, it was Ross Connolly that won from Ben Scranage and Chris Barnes. The standings then after that, Phil Crowe does lead the championship, but Pete Baker's there in 2nd and Dan Hegarty is in 3rd place.
Ross Connolly, winner of Morello Services Superstock 1000. I can see you're a bit warm.
Yeah, it's very warm out there. I mean, the first lap I wasn't so bad, but by the second lap I was just sweating and just holding on really and hoping for the best. And it worked out. Pitboard was great by my mates Daz and Jamie, and it was just a tough race. I had +0 on the board all the time, and then towards the end we started catching the lad that was in the 3rd in the GP1. We managed to get past him as well, so it was good. It was good.
Excellent. Who do you want to thank, mate?
I thank Carlton Autos again and PB Motorsport in Blackpool.
Excellent. Very well done.
Thank you very much.
Pete Baker, winner of Morello Services Thundersport GP1. Lovely to see you back here, Peter, and what a fantastic race. That was so close with Phil. Tell us a bit about it.
Well, I say after the last race, it was fair in Bastion, and I think 0.15 on the line. I believe the finish was exactly the same this time, but with the roles reversed sort of thing. So was it something like that?
It was 92/100ths of a second.
Oh dear, I could hear him. I knew he was there. Yeah, I mean, fantastic. I so desperately wanted a win for Morello and get ourselves back to the top again. I'd led it for most of the race, and the boards were saying that the wrong person was with me. Obviously, I knew Phil would be right there all the time. He passed me into the chicane with a few laps to go, and I thought, no, I'm not going to lead this whole race to be pipped on the line. So we had some good old swapping out the back, and got back in the lead again, and I was just like praying I could hang on till the end sort of thing. So
well, of course, the other thing is that race 2 is double points, so that's a double celebration.
Absolutely. Couldn't you hear me shouting as I come past? I was like, this is for 50 points, this is for 50 points. Pull your finger out.
How sweet is that? Who do you want to thank, mate?
Steve at Morello, obviously, Tony Stannard, who's been helping us here this weekend and also sponsors me, May Construction, they help me as well, Red Cat Hotel, and there's a number of others that I can go through as well, but thank you all so much for putting me here.
Well, you proved today that when all the boxes are ticked, there's life in the old dog for a long while to come yet.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying it's like I shouldn't really be doing this at my age, but I love it so much, and while I'm still capable, I'll be here.
Well done, Pete.
Thank you very much.
Sadly, a day after filming this show, Adam Boyle tragically lost his life in a road accident. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family and friends.